Hey everyone, it's Connor here from Durham Hearing Specialists. I hope you're doing well, and welcome back to a very interesting case. As you can see, we've got pus in the ear canal obscuring the eardrum. In fact, you can just about see the handle of the malleus there. A little bit of flexion, that's valsalva. But what I want you to think early on in this case is, where is this pus coming from? Because if there's pus, there's clearly an immune response. Because pus is, well, it's dead white blood cells, dead neutrophils, exudate dead skin, probably bacteria there. So if you see pus, there is an immune response to a pathogen. So the question is, where is the inflamed tissue? Where is the infected tissue? Differential diagnosis, otitis externa, maybe. That would be the first thing to pop into your head, wouldn't it, if you see pus in an ear? But we can rule that out quite easily, I think, because the skin of the ear canal looks lovely and pink. It looks quite happy, doesn't it? Doesn't carry all the hallmarks of infection or inflammation, which is redness, heat, swelling, pain, dysfunction, but it doesn't look red or erythematic. So otitis externa we can rule out, and it doesn't have that sort of diffuse, sloughy, wet, dead skin presentation. So what else? Well, given the amount of pus and where it is, suprativititis media, maybe, but we can rule that out as well because there's no pulsation there. And if you do have suprativititis media, it'll usually be some kind of pulsing movement where the perf is. And also this discharge that we're sucking up, it doesn't have that very characteristic mucoidy, snotty quality. And if you've ever suctioned an ear with suprativititis media, you'll know that it does have that kind of stringy, gooey quality to it. So we can rule that out. What else? Laryngitis, I suppose. But then, as you can see, the eardrum looks quite happy as well. I mean, it's a little retracted, I think. But there's no redness, there's no granulation tissue. So, those things can be ruled out quite easily, I think. So therefore, where is the pus coming from? This presentation doesn't look right, does it? Something is off. Now watch very closely here, near the handle of the malleus, just as I press on this little bit of dead skin. You seeing that? If it's not obvious to you, don't worry. I will poke and prod that area later on and it will become obvious to you. But right there, as I'm moving this debris, I can tell that something is very wrong. Patient's not in pain. She can't really feel me doing this, but something's very wrong there. We'll come back to that area in just a moment. I'm just going to disturb this debris down here to see if there's anything underneath. I suppose a possible, if kind of differential diagnosis, possibly a fourth pathology that would cause an unusually large amount of pus when you can't clearly see inflamed tissues, would be a canal cholesteatoma, or a pocket there where like kind of infections festering in that pocket, or benign necrotizing otitis externa where there's like erosion. But I'm quite happy with that debris down there. Now watch again as I poke and prod. Actually, I'll come back to that attic bit in a moment, but I'll just unearth this because I was suspicious that there was erosion there. And if you've not seen canal cholesteatoma before, I have uploaded a video on it, so you can check out my YouTube channel, and or I'll link it down below in the description box. And regarding benign necrotizing otitis externa, which is characterized by kind of discontinuity of the skin, like ulceration of the skin and exposed bone, I will upload a few cases like that shortly. That'll be the next video. But you will often find them hiding underneath these kind of sheets of dead skin, and you'll see erosion, and you might see exposed bone and sequestra. Sequestra being like dead bone that's kind of flaked away. So we'll go back to this attic portion here, this debris, and hopefully this time you'll see what I saw earlier. So right there, did you see that little bit of, basically what you can see, what I'm pointing out, is pus that's kind of leaking out or seeping out from behind that debris. Those of you who work in kind of audiology ENT world at this point, if you're hot on pathology, you'll already know what the diagnosis is. It's very obvious. This is an attic cholesteatoma, and what's happening is you can very clearly see the pus emerging now from behind that debris. What's happened here is that there is infection lurking in that pocket, and you'll see the pocket in a moment, and the pus is simply spilling down and obscuring the eardrum. So what is an attic cholesteatoma? Well, it's similar principle to what I alluded to earlier with canal cholesteatoma. It is a collection of dead skin, but in this case there is a collection of dead skin which is growing and growing and invading the middle ear space. And it just so happens that once I remove this kind of crust, you will see that there is dead skin and like keratinous debris in there, as well as a little bit of infection. And you'll be able to see there is some pulsatile nature in there. Now, what we're doing here is, one thing we can't do is we can't put our fine end, our suction probe, into the pocket for two reasons. One is it's dangerous, and two, it's really more sort of ENT world, and I think even before an ENT would shove their suction probe in there, they'd get a CT scan or a diffusion-weighted MRI. But what we can do is confirm the diagnosis, but then also expose the pocket. So what I'm doing here is kind of opening it up so I can see it. Now I'm doing that for two very important reasons. One is, I suppose it's probably quite helpful to expose it and let the pus out, probably. But two is, this patient didn't want to go private, which is absolutely fine. So I've referred them into the NHS system. But you can just see in the pocket there that little bit of white, and also those of you who are keen-eyed will see that little bit of pulsation there. I have absolutely, when I refer a patient into the NHS ENT system, I have zero power over triage. Trust me, I've tried. So I want this patient to be seen quickly. I don't want them to wait 8, 9, 10 months and then for it to get worse and worse and worse. So I don't have any power over triage, but what I can do is take pictures, and that's how I can affect how they triage the patient. So my objective here is to open up the pocket so it's really nice and obvious what the pathology is, and then take 3 pictures. One picture of sort of midway down the canal so you can see the eardrum and then the pocket, and then 2 pictures of the endoscope pointed at the pocket, and so they can kind of see inside. And then I can attach those pictures onto my referral, and then whoever sees that, whether it's a doctor, nurse, associate practitioner, admin, whoever sees the referral will see that there is something terribly wrong here, and then triage it quickly to the consultant. So right here I'm relatively happy with how things look, and I think we've taken it as far as we can take it safely. Patient didn't really feel that much better. I mean, they're not in pain, but they do have a sense of fullness in the ear and hearing loss. And they have been putting this off for quite some time, which is probably why things have gotten to this stage. You know, maybe if we caught it maybe 12 months earlier, we might just see a retraction pocket there, you know, rather than this pocket which is now filled with keratin and is, you know, clearly infected. So there we go. Quick Valsalva there. There is some function, at least, so we got that going for us, which is nice. Just as a quick bonus feature, this is the patient's other ear. So we're ending on a slightly different note here, but beautiful image of the incus and stapes there. You can see where the 2 bones are joined together, so incudostapedial joint there. No cholesteatoma on this side, just a nice large perf, which is not going to heal. So it has almost certainly re-epithelialized around the edges. So there we go. I have pushed this patient through to ENT. I still don't know how they've triaged it, but fingers crossed that the patient has been rushed through. So there we go. There is an attic cholesteatoma. It's quite a nice one, and I think it quite nicely demonstrates how they can hide and lurk. So it always pays to be curious. So there we go. I hope you found that video interesting. If you want to do what I do and do endoscopic suction, I do train students on how to do that. Go to durhamhearingspecialists.com and you'll see the next training dates there. Next one is in London, I think. If you have any questions about the case, leave them down in the comment section below and I'll try my very best to get back to you. And of course, I will see you guys on the next video.